Good evening, everyone. I want to start with a simple question. When was the last time you felt truly calm? Not just for a moment, but deeply, genuinely calm. For most of us, that feeling is becoming harder and harder to find. We live in a world that moves fast. There are deadlines at work. There are bills to pay. There are relationships to take care of. There are goals we set for ourselves. Big goals. Goals that once excited us but now just make us feel tired when we think about them. And underneath all of that, there is this constant pressure. This feeling that we should be doing more, achieving more, becoming more. And that pressure has a name. We call it stress. Stress is not just a feeling. Scientists and doctors around the world have spent decades studying what stress does to the human body. And what they found is serious. Chronic stress, the kind that stays with you day after day, week after week, weakens your immune system. It raises your blood pressure. It disrupts your sleep. It affects your memory and your ability to think clearly. It has been linked to heart disease, diabetes, anxiety, depression, and many other serious conditions. Doctors often say that stress is the root of many modern illnesses, and I believe they are right. But here is what I find interesting. Most of the stress we carry is not caused by one single terrible thing. It is caused by the feeling of being overwhelmed. It is caused by looking at everything we have to do all at once and feeling like we cannot possibly handle it all. Have you ever sat down at your desk in the morning, opened your email, looked at your to-do list, and just froze? You did not know where to start, so you did nothing. Or you did something small and unimportant just to feel like you were doing something. And by the end of the day, the big things were still there, waiting for you, heavier than before. I know that feeling. Most people in this room know that feeling. And the reason it happens is actually quite simple. Our brains are not designed to process massive, complex, open-ended problems all at once. When we look at a goal that feels too big, our brain does not say, "Okay, let us begin." Our brain says, "This is dangerous. This is too much. I do not know how to do this." And it switches into a kind of emergency mode. That is stress. That is your body reacting to a threat. But here is the good news. There is a way to work with your brain instead of against it. The answer is not to do less. The answer is not to lower your standards or give up on your goals. The answer is to change how you approach those goals. The answer is to go small. I want to tell you about a concept that changed the way I think about work, about goals, and about life in general. It is the idea of breaking things down, taking something that feels overwhelming and cutting it into small, manageable pieces, moving forward one step at a time. It sounds simple, almost too simple. You might be thinking, I already know this. But knowing something and actually doing it are very different things. Most of us know we should break things down. But when we are faced with a big project, a difficult conversation, a major life change, we still try to tackle it all at once. And then we wonder why we feel so exhausted. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you are standing at the bottom of a very tall mountain. You want to reach the top. You look up, and the peak is so far away you can barely see it. The path is steep. The air is cold. And you think, I have to climb all of that. Right now. Today. That thought is paralyzing. That thought produces stress. But what if instead, you just looked at the next 10 steps in front of you? Just 10 steps. That is all. You do not think about the summit. You do not think about how far you have to go. You just take 10 steps. And then you take 10 more. And before you know it, you have climbed further than you ever thought possible. That is the power of the step-by-step approach. Now let me bring this into the workplace, because that is where so many of us experience our heaviest stress. At work, we are often given projects that feel enormous. Maybe your manager gives you a new responsibility and gives you very little guidance on how to do it. Maybe you are asked to lead a team for the first time. Maybe you are dealing with a difficult client, a tight deadline, and a team that is already stretched thin. When we look at all of those things together, the mind goes blank. We feel a kind of paralysis. And paradoxically, the harder we try to think about everything at once, the less effective we become. Research in cognitive psychology shows us that the human brain can only hold a limited amount of information in what we call working memory at any one time. When you try to plan a complex project by keeping all the pieces in your head simultaneously, you overload that system. Your thinking becomes foggy. Your decisions become worse. Your stress goes up, and your output goes down. But when you break that same project into smaller tasks, something different happens. Each small task becomes clear. Each small task becomes doable. And each time you complete one, your brain releases a small amount of dopamine, the chemical that makes you feel good, that motivates you to keep going. In other words, small wins are not just emotionally satisfying, they are neurologically powerful. They actually change the chemistry of your brain and make you more motivated, more focused, and more productive. So, how do we actually do this? Let me give you some practical ways to apply this idea starting tomorrow. The first thing is to write it all down. When you feel overwhelmed, your brain is trying to hold too many things at once. The simple act of writing everything down, every task, every worry, every responsibility, puts it outside your head and onto paper. Suddenly, it feels more manageable. You can see it. You can organize it. You are no longer carrying it all inside you. The second thing is to identify just one task, not three tasks, not five, just one. Ask yourself, what is the single most important thing I can do today? Choose that one thing and give it your full attention. When that one thing is done, choose the next one thing. The third thing is to make your tasks smaller than you think they need to be. If you think the task is finish the report, that is still too big. Break it down further. The task is write the introduction paragraph. That is one thing. That is doable. And when you sit down to do just that one thing, you will often find that momentum carries you forward and you do more than you planned. The fourth thing is to protect your energy. Stress is not only about having too much to do, it is also about doing things when your energy is already depleted. Pay attention to when you feel most focused and alert during the day. Use that time for your most important and most challenging work. Use your lower energy times for simpler tasks. And the fifth thing is to celebrate small completions. This is something we almost never do as adults. We finish a task and immediately move to the next one, without acknowledging what we just did. But taking even 30 seconds to recognize a small win tells your brain that the effort was worth it. It builds momentum. It makes the next step feel less frightening. I want to address something that some of you might be thinking right now. You might be thinking, this sounds nice, but my life is genuinely complicated. My problems are not simple. I cannot just cut everything into little pieces and pretend the big picture does not exist. And you are right. Life is complicated. Some situations are genuinely difficult. Some pressures are real and heavy and unavoidable. But here is what I want you to understand. The step-by-step approach is not about ignoring the big picture. It is about finding a way to actually move toward it. Because the truth is, the big picture never gets handled all at once anyway. Every large achievement in human history, every building ever constructed, every business ever built, every relationship ever deepened, happened one small action at a time. The people who accomplished those things were not superhuman. They just learned how to keep moving forward without being stopped by the weight of the whole. There is an old saying that goes something like this: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It is a simple idea, but the reason it has survived for thousands of years is because it is true. You cannot take 1,000 miles all at once. Nobody can. But you can take one step, and then another, and then another, and that is enough. I want to leave you with this thought. The goal is not to eliminate stress entirely. A small amount of stress is actually healthy. It keeps us alert, motivated, and engaged. The goal is to stop letting stress overwhelm us, to stop letting the size of a challenge paralyze us before we even begin. The next time you feel that familiar heaviness, that sense of too much, too fast, too big, I want you to stop, take a breath, and ask yourself one question. What is the smallest possible step I can take right now? Not tomorrow. Not after you feel ready. Because waiting to feel ready is often just another form of avoidance. Right now, one small step. That is how mountains get climbed. That is how projects get finished. That is how lives get changed. Not all at once, not in a rush, but steadily, patiently, one step at a time. Thank you